Hello. Welcome to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another episode of the Real Housewives of Potomac. And this is season 9, episode 15. It's called Old Rumors Die Hard. And this was a pretty good episode. I am liking that it seems like things are finally taking a shift to a different direction with the show, because maybe the reason why I enjoyed this episode, because this was, for the most part, it still was focused on Mia, but it wasn't as Mia heavy, as in like Mia and like Jacqueline were not on my screen until towards the end of the episode. And maybe that's why I found this episode a lot more enjoyable, but that's just me. Let me just address the elephant in the room. Y'all already saw that I did like 8 videos within a week last week, and I ain't gonna hold you. It kind of burned me out a little bit, so I'm not filming on camera today. I'm just gonna do the audio, but you're gonna get this review relatively quickly because it's way less for me to edit. So that's just me keeping it real. Also, too, I do get an extra day off tomorrow because the MLK Day. And hopefully you guys are taking in some history to, don't just make it a free day, make it an educational day. That's just my thoughts on that. For those who saw on my channel, I actually had a travel vlog that I did. Well, a vlog that I did because I actually went to the Black History Museum in Chicago this past Wednesday. Basically doing what I would, kind of getting that out the way. So I did my part. So I'm walking the talk. Anyway, that's not why we're here though. Let's get into the episode. So the episode starts off with like a little bit of like the Housewives montage at the very beginning. We have Ray and Karen on their way. I guess Ray's about to go play golf, and she's like basically the caddy, if you will. And apparently she has a new car, and so he accidentally restarted. And that's kind of all we saw there. And then the other brief housewife montage, we had Giselle with all 3 of her girls, because it's, probably around July right now when they're filming. So they're all like, they're all off for the summer. And they're just kind of, Grace is talking about the situation when it comes to guys in college. And Giselle's like shushing her. It was cute. But our first official scene was actually with Ashley. And Ashley meets one of the drag kings in the city to kind of help her get prepared to do her drag king show as Ashton. Not going to say the whole name because it's a little ridiculous. But basically, it's a little cute scene. It wasn't too long of a scene where the drag king is basically showing her what she needs to do to get prepared. We find out that Ashley's drag persona, she kind of wants it to give American Psycho. And so we'll see that actually more or less in the following episode, because we didn't really get to it in this episode. So yeah, that's kind of what happens here. And that was pretty much, besides this scene, and there was a brief scene with her and all the other drag queens the day of the show. Ashley was not featured that much in this episode. Maybe that was the other reason why I kind of enjoyed this episode. I don't know. Neither here nor there. But anyway, that was kind of all that happened at this particular scene. Next, we have Kay, and she's at her salon. And Giselle actually goes to pay her a visit at her salon, gets a little bit of a tour situation, and then they're just talking about Kay's just talking about really Greg this whole entire time. Not really too much about it yet, but just a little bit, because then after that, shortly before she does continue to resume that conversation, Wendy meets up with them. And side note, we find out in this scene that Giselle has known Kay for some time because she's really close friends with Kel, who is Giselle's best friend. And she's like, anyone who is Kel's best friend is all right with me. So that's kind of how we find out how Giselle has known Kay for some time now, and why, she's good with her. And Wendy, we know that Wendy already knows Kay. We found that out from the previous season. So she goes and meets up with them too. And right when Wendy pulls up looking fabulous, she finds out she has a flat tire. And her reaction to all of that, I was dying. I was like, Wendy, she's like, no flat tire. And then she goes to call like AAA, I'm assuming. And they're like, yeah, your policy has expired. Wait, it expired? And they're like, don't worry, we can resume it today and take care of it. And she's like, okay. And she's like, this isn't fly at all. And so she's showing up being dramatic as all get out and then explains to them that she got a flat tire. And she rode on that flat tire for some time because when I tell you that tire was flat, it was flat. And I'm like, how did she not hear that she had a flat tire? But I can't talk. In my younger days, I would have my music blaring and all that. But I'm like, girl. And plus, she has like a nicer car. And so Giselle was even puzzled by it too. She's like, wouldn't your car like not let you proceed? She's like, no, it just let me keep going. So I just kept going. And that's when I found out I had the flat tire. I was like, ugh. All right. Well, anyway, so then that's when Kay resumes the conversation about Greg. And the subject comes up about her changing her last name. And she doesn't want to change it. She wants to hyphen it. She wants to, Keanu Stewart. And then I think Days is his last, or Davies or Days. I think Days is his last name. She wants to hyphen it. And he is against it. He wants the name to be completely changed. And she's like, well, I'm thinking for business purposes, persona purposes, I'll keep my, name the way it is. But then I could legally just change it. It's not a big deal. But you could tell that it is a big deal. And Kay throughout the episode, because it comes up again where she's talking about her and Greg's relationship, but I don't really want to continue talking about it too much, so we'll just sum it up all here. What I am noticing is I feel like she really, I think she does care for Greg. I think she does love the idea of Greg. I'm not sure, though, if she loves Greg, though, because then she does go into details of the background of her mom and dad and them getting a divorce and her mom being very independent and all that. I'm curious to understand why she wants this relationship so bad. Because to me, the way it's coming off, and maybe it's just because of how he is on the show and he doesn't really like filming. You can tell he doesn't really want to be on the show. He doesn't really want her on the show. Because he wants her to be a traditional housewife, but like an actual housewife, like a kept woman. And that's like completely the opposite of her personality. So to me, right away, that tells me this is not going to work out. But I think she's attracted to him. And I've done this before too. So I'm kind of speaking, I'm projecting a little bit. I think she's just going with this guy because he's safe. Like she will have, like she's alluded to multiple times that there's stability with him. And at the end of the day, most people really, especially women, we crave stability. And I love the idea of stability too. But stability over your own personal identity as a woman and how you are, I don't know how she's going to balance that. And I hate to say it, but I don't know if this is going to work out. And I think Giselle kind of feels that way too. And even like, Giselle hasn't said it out loud because I think, she's actually really good friends with Kay in real life. So she's probably going to withhold her normal opinionated stuff to herself. But then also too, Wendy's like thinking the same thing too a little bit, but Wendy's approach is slightly different. She's just like, I just hope that, Kate, it doesn't come to the point where she has to choose between basically the show or like being with him. And to me, if your partner is going to make you choose, he's not the right person for you. That would automatically just narrow it down for me right away. But I know when there's feelings involved, that kind of changes things, and that's what it is. But that's pretty much all. I'm just going to wrap Kay in a bow when it comes to the Greg situation, because unfortunately I don't care about the situation enough to really go in order with that. But then the other thing does come up during this conversation with the girls is Karen and how she's doing. And basically the women are worried about her because she's lost so much weight. And they're thinking it's the stress of the case, everything that's going on. So they're, wanting to just like be nice and like, figure out like, hey, I want to ask, but I don't want her to like take it the wrong way. And then Kay basically straight up tells him, like, girl, she's on Ozempic. This has her weight loss is Ozempic based. And the girls are like, wait, what? We don't believe that. There's no way. There's no way. And Kay, in her confessional, when she talked about it in detail, she's like, well, she's pre-diabetic. So her being pre-diabetic and her being able to get the access, we understand. She did this little wink in the confessional. It was cute. But yeah, so that now they're like, okay, we need to figure out what's going on with Karen. But anyway, that's kind of how this scene ends. Well, before the scene ends, we have the guy, the AAA guy, calls back and he's like outside. He's like, hey, we outside. We can go ahead and do this. And then he kind of is flirty towards me. He's like, my pleasure, love. And I'm like, ooh. And Giselle and Kay's like, who's this man? Let's go out there and see who he is. I wish I would have shown it, but you know what? It's all good. But that's kind of how this ends here. Side note. So the part that I mentioned about Kay and Greg, the more in-depth version, so they talked about it here, but then it also came up again when they're at Ashley's event. So I just combined it because I was like, there's no need to talk about it, like the whole thing more than once. I just kind of want to be done with it. But anyway, but then the next scene here, we have the husbands. We have Gordon and we have Ray, and they're meeting up for dinner. And them two are a key. I ain't gonna hold you. I was kind of cracking up because Ray is, he has a personality and so does Gordon. But we find out here, I mean, we already knew this as viewers, but like Gordon pretty much solidified that like, yeah, Mia be lying. And it seems like I don't feel bad for Gordon, first of all, because, what he did with his ex-wife to get with Mia was kind of ain't-ish behavior. But it does seem like, at least from what I'm watching, it does come off that Gordon is trying to make amends and be a better person. And I think with him finding out that he's bipolar, he wants to like fix things. And he was like, and he kind of goes into that, taking the medicine is the first step, but I still got to do the additional work. It's not just about taking the medicine. And it sounds like he's taking pills. It doesn't seem like he's getting the shot. I'm always curious, why is it typically most people take the pills versus giving the shot? I don't know. Maybe I have an unpopular opinion about taking the pills versus the shot situation because I've lived it. But I guess in my personal, the good news about the shot situation is even if you were to like miss a dosage of taking the shot, it takes a lot longer for the drugs to leave your system. Versus like the pills, if you don't take it, it's gone. Like you have to be obedient about taking, medication. And in most cases, when it comes to like mental health, especially like bipolar 1, when you're on the more manic side, similar to Gordon, you probably are going to have a hard time wanting to take the pills when you're feeling good. And usually when you're in mania, you feel really, really good. Or when you're even knocking towards the full-on mania, you're energized, you're energetic, you're getting so much stuff done, but it's like very disorganized and chaotic because like you're just like basically on 10 at all times. And I know I'm minimalizing what it is, but like, trust me, I know, I really do know. But yeah, that's kind of why whenever I hear that, it always gives me pause, maybe because of my personal experience behind all that. But anyway, so let's get out of that. So then the other thing that Gordon does state, because he just drops all this tea that we find out later on, Ray's gonna run back and tell like Karen all of it. So first of all, we find out that Panama City, the kids going missing situation, a whole bunch of lies, all the lies. And from Gordon's perspective, what it was, and I feel like a lot of us even kind of thought this, is Gordon, number one, why is there need to be a sitter when Gordon is around? Number one. Number two, if Gordon is around and he himself needs a sitter, because Mia's away, why couldn't Gordon be the one who gets a sitter? And number three, when Gordon was talking to Ray about it, he kind of alluded to a similar situation has happened before where Mia just left her kids with like ink And he's like, I don't know ink enough to be cool with my kids just being there by themselves. And I agree. How are you going to just like let your kids just be around whoever? That to me is wild. And honestly, Mia putting that narrative out there trying to make Gordon seem crazy, it did not do what she thought it was going to do. It actually validated other thoughts that maybe people were thinking about her motherhood. It's like she's putting this stuff out there because at the end of the day, she is fun exploiting her kids, and like Gordon and his side of things is really solidifying that that's exactly what it is. If you didn't already know that, it's very clear that's what she's doing, and it's really kind of disgusting. Anyway, the other thing that we find out is Gordon took a paternity test like shortly after, the controversy of Mia acting a certain way about this and like saying there's a possibility and all this stuff. And he found out that yes, the kid is his. And we knew this. We all kind of knew that, Mia's saying certain things just because she is an attention whore. And Ray was curious, like, wait a minute, how'd you do this? And like Mia didn't know. He's like, well, she doesn't have to know this. Like, she doesn't have full custody. Like, this is my child too, potentially. So that's kind of what happened there. And also the full custody thing. We found out that was a lie, but honestly, when she said it initially, I knew that was a lie because I'm like, well, they're not divorced yet, so there's no such thing as full custody. They're separated, and they're not even legally separated. I don't think. I think they're just separated. So anyway, so that's kind of what happened there. And then what else is going on? Yeah, so basically, Gordon kind of exposed all of Mia's lies. So she didn't really get to run with those lies that much longer, which honestly, kudos to Gordon because I'm kind of getting sick of her exploiting her children and then also exploiting his mental health. I think that's just disgusting. As someone who has a lot of bipolar disorder in my family, I feel a whole entire way about that. But anyway, so that's kind of what happens there. But outside of that, the guys were bonding, having a good time, and eating good. That restaurant looked good. I really wanted to go there and have some of that food that they were having. But they were having them a gluttonous meal. And yeah, I was not mad at it. Okay, so then next we have Stacy, and Stacy meets with a potential attorney she's going to end up using. Because after the mediation, once she found out additional things that she found out, she's like, I probably should get an attorney. And so she's talking through the things with this attorney. And what I found extremely interesting is Stacy is still super naive about how this will work. It's kind of sickening. But it's also charming at the same time. I don't really know how I feel about it, to be honest with you. But on the one hand, she wants to make sure she gets spousal support. So she wants that legally in writing. But then on the other hand, she wants to decline child support. Because she figured that he'll just do it out of obligation. And that's the way they've always done it. And the attorney basically had to give her common sense. Is like, well, if you feel that way, then why would you request spousal support? And I agree. It's like it's one or the other. Like I feel like if you feel really, really secure about all of that, then you wouldn't request for either of them, right? And that's kind of what the attorney was getting at. She's like, well, I know my husband. I'm like, well, if you knew your husband, would there be a reason to be getting a divorce? See, these are the things that I feel like she's not really understanding. Like I can see how Karen, I think she had an interview at the beginning of the season talking about Stacy and how she's kind of wishy-washy and flip-floppy. I'm seeing it more with her own personal story versus with like the ladies. Because it does seem like she's kind of back and forth. But I guess I don't want to be too harsh and hard on her on this because I can imagine, I've never experienced it, but I can only imagine that this type of a situation is very stress provoking. And so she probably feels like she's all over the place. And her life is literally changing. The life that she knew is changing before her eyes very quickly. So I can see how she's very much torn when it comes to, what she knew. But I think the attorney did talk some sense into her and but we didn't get a conclusion. But Stacey did ask an important question. And the question was, how many women say they know their husbands and then they do what I did and then it blows up in their face? And the attorney was like, honestly, if I had a dollar for how many women do this, you wouldn't even be seeing me because I would be retired. Like, I was like, dang. So she's like, you people saying they know their husband is the most common trope ever, and it almost always blows people up in the face. It's pretty much what the attorney said. Like, you might have the exception, but do you really want to gamble having the exception? Like, she basically broke it down like, look, I know you might be afraid of, speaking up for yourself because you don't want to disturb the peace. But these are just backup plans just in case things do not plan out the way, someone has. They're legally obligated to keep this going, which exactly. I agree with that because, one of the things that I think could have been broken down to the attorney could even say, like, what if out of nowhere he just lost a lot of money and just had some money problems out of nowhere? Now, with you not having it in writing, he could end up doing some sacrificial things. This the attorney mentioned about his new wife maybe not seeing it for like their child, and Stacey's like, I don't see that happening. But at the end of the day, you didn't see a divorce happening either. Like, I feel like that's one of those things I think she needs to constantly remind herself of. But at the end of the day, I did very much appreciate seeing this scene, because I think this is one of the first times in Housewives where, at least that I can remember, because I'm kind of newer to watching Housewives, where we're seeing the process, and it's kind of helping women have a better way of navigating that, if it does come to you needing to end things. So I do appreciate this, because we're seeing the process all the way through. So there's that. So next we have a scene with Giselle and the girls, and she's taking the girls basically shopping to get ready for their next semester in college. Well, two of the children, the first semester in college, and Grace the second semester in college. We find out that Giselle actually purchased an investment home not far away from one of the campuses. I'm not sure if it was Adore or Angels. It was one of the girls. Because I forgot what schools the other girls are going to. Because we know that I believe Grace is going to FAMU, but I don't know where the others are going. But anyway, so Giselle was also kind of talking about how generational wealth is super important, and the subject of her dad came up quite a bit in this scene because she mentioned the will situation. So it sounds like the will situation is exactly where we left it. They're still fighting that will situation. And then also, they mentioned something about the Christmas tree, because they were talking about generational wealth and her dad. And then once they really started going to Christmas tree, talking about the Christmas tree, Giselle is talking in her confessional. She actually did almost break because, Giselle doesn't cry. Giselle typically doesn't like to show emotion. And she's just like, yeah, the Christmas tree thing is literally our thing. And they show pictures of her and her dad and videos of them picking out a Christmas tree. And that's like their thing. Like, the Christmas tree thing is like the thing that they used to do together. And yeah, so it's pretty sad. But that is something that came up. But that's kind of how this scene ends. Nice, short, and sweet. And we always love seeing Giselle with her kids, even though, I know some people don't love Giselle, but this is the few things about Giselle that I feel like everyone loves to see, is her with her children. All right, so then next we have Stacey with TJ, and I need to know what y'all think about this, because this is the first time ever, the whole entire season, that I saw any type of chemistry that was Stacey and TJ the whole time. And I guess I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't know if he's acting really well or what it is, but the subject, so basically they're talking about Stacey, I guess TJ feels away. And that's the reason why we're kind of beginning zesty TJ, because I guess because this she's like in limbo in the middle of getting a divorce. He's kind of getting treated like he doesn't exist like that. She's just been calling him the best friend, the best friend, the best friend. And basically the subject came up was like, what do you need to happen in order for things to feel better for you? And even the way TJ worded it, I'm just kind of like, I still don't know if I should believe this or not. But he's like, I need you to state that we're dating to everybody, including your husband. And I'm like, child, I don't see that's I all this. I don't know. To me, that I don't know. I don't know about any of this. I don't think any of it's a good idea. Even if it was a real, even if let's say Stacey and TJ is a real thing. Um, that would give me pause if a man really wants me to claim them so badly when I have not even left my old situation yet. But yet you are claiming to be wanting to be celibate. And also too, whose decision is it to do the celibacy thing? At first it seems like it was TJ's decision, but then in this scene, it just seems like it's the other way around. Like it I at the end they did end up like kissing each other on the like lips, and they gave each other a hug, and it seemed like this was kind of a little bit past the boundaries of how their friendship normally is, because they actually went out on a date. That's the other thing. They're finally outside on a date. And I think that's the other thing that was kind of missing. It's like, oh, they're outside on the date. But it sounds to me that Stacey, because she's hiding like the fact that she's dating him, she is the reason why they weren't going out on dates and stuff. And I'm just like, as a man, why would he want to be date? I don't know. I have questions, because then the next thing he asked, like, so once this divorce is over, can I come over to your house, your actual house? Because apparently he's moving out of the house. The ex-husband has moved out of the house, or is pretty much in the process of moving out of the house. And he asked about that immediately. I don't know. I'm still side-eyeing TJ a lot, because he is way too invested in what's going on with Stacey and her situation, and this quickly. I'm a little alarmed by it. And we've noticed with Stacey, her discernment don't discern well. So I'm a little concerned for Stacey, especially if this is a real situation where he's really trying to get up in there. But yeah, this gave me pause, and I'm sighing TJ a little bit more. Anyway, let's move on. So this next scene is we have Karen getting ready to go to Ashley's event, and she's talking to Ray. Ray basically tells her everything that he talked to Gordon about, but Ray added a little extra stink to it and said that that he thinks that the reason why Gordon took the kids away from where they were at because of Ink being there. That is what he said. That's literally what Ray said he thought, but that's not really what Gordon said. Gordon mentioned another situation where that was a thing, but not that this was the thing. But either way, Karen took this and ran with it, and that's what it is. But that was kind of the only thing that happened within this scene, was Karen and Ray talking about what happened here. And then from there, the ladies are all on their way to the spot, Shakers, to go to see Ashley's performance. And then we see Ashley briefly with the girls. And by girls, I mean the other drag queens and drag kings getting ready, taking a shot. She's super nervous, but she's excited. She has some of her get up on, but not all of it on yet. And then from there, the ladies, almost all the ladies are there, minus Mia and Jacqueline. I'm not going to hold you. I forgot that they weren't there. And then also, too, I don't know if any of y'all overheard, but Stacey mentioned, yeah, and Jazzy will be here, too. Jazzy was nowhere to be found. And I am curious, Bravo or someone in the network, or maybe someone in the know, what happened to Jazzy? Because she, is no longer on the screen anymore. It's kind of what I want for Jacqueline, but I'm getting it from Jazzy, and it's very disappointing. But anyway, So then from there, before Mia and Jacqueline are there, um, I believe the ladies like, basically are checking up on Karen. Like Giselle, it was basically Giselle asking about Karen, like, hey, I'm just worried about you. I'll make sure everything's okay. And um, but there was alluded to that you're on Ozempic. And Karen's Karen and her look on her face was so animated, but basically Karen said yes without saying yes. She said the drug that causes a weight loss and Ozempic is what she's on. And then Kay was like, that's the drug that's in Ozempic. And then Giselle's like, okay, so basically Ozempic. Karen's like, yes, Ozempic. And she explained that she's pre-diabetic. And then freaking Wendy in her confessional, she's like, we were so worried about you thinking you're losing all this weight, losing sleep over stress, but child, you're just on that. Oh, okay, child. And then right away, Karen was standing on big business. She's like, okay, like she was like, and because they're waiting for everyone to get there. And then Mia and Jacqueline, they do arrive, and child, let's talk about that. So Mia is wearing her almost always outfit that she wears. She has like that stupid bodycon, like looking like jumpsuit. Like I swear she has one in every outfit. I'm just so sick of seeing her in that kind of a thing. And she's still doing this blonde hair. She's still trying to make fetch happen with the blonde. And then Jacqueline is wearing the same thing, but somehow, some way, she looks kind of trashy. Like, and I don't understand why she would. Child, never mind. We already know the Potomac girls are not known for their fashions, but Jesus, I don't understand this. But anyway, so they're there, and immediately Karen's just kind of triggered. She's like, "Oh, child, this." Mm-mm. And so that's when Karen was like, Giselle, can I come talk to you? Like, basically, immediately after they showed up, they went to go talk. And then this is when Karen tells Giselle everything. And Giselle's like, she is a liar. And we know it's going to be good now because, child, now Giselle's in on it. And you already know that Giselle has been waiting for something because we knew Giselle didn't really forgive Mia for real. Like, it came off that way, but it's like Giselle is not that type that just forgives. Like, that's not even in her. If you've seen her previous seasons, that's just not a thing of hers. So she's like, okay. And then Giselle, her confessional, she's just like, Karen's been trying to tell me this about like Mia for years now, and I just was like on Mia's side saying, no, that's not true. And it turns out it's all completely true. And so basically, as soon as they get back on the table, Karen wastes no time and like literally lets Mia have it for being a liar. And all the girls are like, clutching pearls and stuff like that, going back and forth. And then Wendy, I feel like one of the only ones that has some sense, is like, yeah, can we take this outside? Because y'all are being really, really loud. And then Mia, I don't know what she thought she was giving. Say, you sure you want to go outside? I was like, ugh, gross. So anyway, they do end up outside. And they are going off on Mia. And by they, I mean Karen and Giselle. And then because then what happens is, as Karen's going off on Mia tries to throw the obvious stuff, the low-hanging fruit stuff in her face, and it just doesn't land. So she blows in Karen's face about the DUI and all that. She also tries to blow in her face about her having a man on the side. And because everyone is just so sick of Mia's behavior, they're just like, even Karen's like, you know what? Those reads aren't even landing. I don't care. You can't really hurt me, Mia. Like, it is what it is. I'm in trouble right now. Yes, I am. Whatever about the accusation. She basically just paid it dust and just stood on business with it. And then even Giselle was like, okay, I know you're trying to like make a comeback when it comes to like Karen. The DUI, her hitting the tree. Okay, we all know that. And, I mean, really, I just wish the rest of the cast will hold Karen more accountable, and I really wish Karen will like take accountability for this. But that's a whole nother thing. But the other read about her having a man, she's like, Giselle's like, Child, we already know she has a man on the side. It's an arrangement. It's fine. Anyway, moving on. But Mia, you are a whole entire liar exploiting your kids. And that's the thing. Mia is bringing kids, her husband, deframing his character all out there. And then the representative, of course, was trying to say something for Mia, and it was not landing because they're just sick of her ish. But really, the episode ends with them being outside, going back and forth. So it's going to continue. It did not end as a to be continued, but I can only imagine it's going to pick up where we left off with this from there in the next episode. But yeah, overall, this was a really, really good episode. I kind of enjoyed the watch. I don't really have anything else to say. But in the meantime, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melon Nostalgic Runner, and I will see you next time. Bye. In your head.